Welcome back to Bootstrap, insights for the self-funded entrepreneur with Frank Cianciulli. As always, my name is Matthew Lay, and I'm going to be your host. Well, it's the second half of season 1. We've received a lot of positive feedback and a lot of comments, and so we're excited to give you more of what it seems like you're looking for. So today, we are talking about something that anyone who's ever been through the Wish Group or met Frank has probably heard him say at one point in time, that Frank prefers ignorance on fire to knowledge on ice. Frank, where did you get that little idiom from? What does it mean?
Well, I mean, when I started my first business and you start meeting people and interviewing people, you'd find people that were very experienced and had success already, and they knew exactly what to do.
Right.
And then you had people that were younger or maybe new to the either new to the industry or just out of school, new to sales, what have you. So they didn't really know what they were doing, but man, they were just had a lot of fire and energy and just were asking, what I need to do next. And, we find that we could work with that.
Right.
Because we've got the proper training and processes in place to develop that talent. Because they're ready to just go out there and make some mistakes and then we can refine their skills versus someone who knows exactly what to do but just won't do it.
Right.
And that becomes a problem because then, we got to get into the motivation game.
Yeah.
And, I don't have a problem being Anthony Robbins or trying to motivate someone or create an environment for them to be inspired, but ultimately, I can't pick up the phone for them or do the job for them. So I find that it's a much more frustrating scenario.
Reminds me of that early on in the boiler room where they say that they don't hire stockbrokers, they train them.
Okay, before we get started, I have one question. Has anyone here passed the Series 7 exam?
I have a Series 7 license.
Good for you. You can get out too.
What? Why?
We don't hire brokers here. We train new ones.
Right? It's kind of the same mentality.
Absolutely. We'd much rather find people that really fit the culture and help develop them and nurture them and just train them.
Yeah. Now, we've already done a session on hiring best practices and whatnot, but clearly this doesn't mean that you always just hire people right out of school with no experience, right? There is a demographic of somebody who is out there doing the job that has made sense in your startups.
Correct. A good company is like a very good sports team. You've got to have some rookies that are, you're drafting and you've got in your farm system, and then you've got, the big free agents or the veterans on your team.
Yeah.
The key, though, if you're going to have, experienced people on the team, is they have to fit the culture.
Okay.
And they've got to realize that, they may have been coming from large organizations with way more infrastructure, way more resources, especially if they're coming from very large enterprise type businesses. So you've got to be upfront with them during the interview process that it's a different environment and you're in a building mode. So they probably came from environments where there was a lot of process and bureaucracy and everything was set and ready to go. They could just come in and do their work.
Yeah.
Where usually in a bootstrapped company, all those processes need to be developed and need to be built. So you've got to find someone who wants to come and take their knowledge because usually they're disenfranchised or they feel that, where they came from, whether it was Bell Canada or a bank or what have you, there was things that could be done better.
Right.
So here they have a blank canvas. At your company, they have a chance to basically build that. So you've got to make sure you find someone who's willing to not just realize, this is not like where I came from, and they just complain about it, versus someone who says, this is great, it's not in place, good, I can build it from the ground up properly.
Right. Now, one thing that you guys asked for in the comments section was more real-life stories from Frank's many years of experience. So, Frank, I'll ask you this. Can you tell us a story about someone who came in that met the mold of that ignorance on fire?
Yes, the guy who's interviewing me right now.
I didn't set that up at all.
Well, great example. I think maybe early to mid-20s when you joined, and you joined in a junior capacity. You had very little experience. I think you had a bit of maybe a year or two under your belt after out of school. And I think you came into a really dynamic environment where we did a lot of training, and we kind of gave you a blueprint of what you needed to do.
Yep.
And we've kind of nurtured you how to operate in an entrepreneurial culture, give you the freedom to be able to walk in my office one day like you did and said, hey, Frank, I've got an idea about a potential webcasting business, and the rest is history. And then you were able to incubate through our business and grow. So that's great. That's probably one of the best examples.
And what I can say about those days was you had to be on fire. And the culture that had been created was if you weren't on fire, something was wrong. Mm-hmm. So whether you were me, who had no experience, or the guy who sat next to me who had 10 years experience in the industry, we all had to be going at the same pace. So Very good. And with that, that's all the time we have on this show. But as always, guys, we're going to be back next week. And next week, we'll be back with another Frank idiom, which is know where you're going, even if you don't know how to get there. And hopefully by next week, I know what it is we're talking about. Until that time, guys, submit your questions or comments to the email on the screen, and we will aspire to get you answers in our upcoming Ask Frank. Like, share, tell your friends and family about the show, and until next time, keep it lean.